You live in a neighborhood where despair is piled higher than the crumbling rooftops. Around here, people don't live, they just try not to die. Home is a shack with a corrugated tin roof that you share with your mom and your little sister. Your old man, he's gone. Collateral damage in a gang war he didn't even have a ticket for. That leaves mom as the only thing keeping the walls from caving in. To make sure you and your sister have a shot at a future, she grinds 20 hours a day until she's running on empty. You're the star student. You're hitting the books with one goal, becoming a politician. Not for the power, but to fix this broken system and finally give your family the dignity they deserve. But the universe has a twisted sense of humor. Out of nowhere, mom gets hit with a major illness. The local clinic doc says she needs surgery, and she needs it yesterday. The price tag, 5,000 pesos. Now to some suit in the rich part of town, 5,000 pesos is what he drops on a bottle of wine on a random Tuesday. But to you, that number is astronomical. It's an unreachable fortune. It's the absolute wall between life and a funeral. You try to hit up the neighbors for a loan, but in this zip code, trying to get cash is like trying to squeeze blood from a stone. Everyone's broke, and the few who aren't don't trust a 14-year-old kid with a dime. So you drop out of school and start humping crates at the central market. Your spine is screaming under a load that weighs more than you do. At the end of the day, they hand you a measly 100 pesos. You rush home dying to show mom the cash, only to find her out cold. Her clock is ticking. You beg your boss for an advance, but he laughs in your face. In his world, empathy is just a bad investment. In total desperation, you spot a flyer on a lamppost. Instant cash. No credit. No questions. It's your only move. You head to the address, a smoke-filled back room. The loan shark flashes a shark tooth grin and offers the 5,000 pesos, with a 50% weekly interest rate. You read the fine print of the verbal contract. No house for collateral? No problem. They'll just take your biological assets. If you don't pay, they collect a kidney or a cornea. The good news? They let you choose which one you want to keep. You sign your soul over to the devil. You pay for the surgery. The docs do their thing, but mom's body just quits. She dies that same night. But grief is a luxury the poor can't afford. Before you can even cry, the first payment is due. You're short. The collectors don't offer condolences. They offer a beatdown that leaves you spitting teeth. Then comes the ultimatum. You have 1 week to pay the principal plus interest, or they take your little sister as final payment to be sold into a human trafficking ring. Just when you're about to sell your soul to the lowest bidder, a stranger slides up with a job offer. No resume required, no references needed. All he wants is someone small, fast, and flat out desperate for cash. 1 week's pay is enough to clear your debt with the Shylocks. Since you've lived here your whole life, you know exactly what the job is: smuggling gear across the border. If you're lucky, you get paid. If you're not, you end up as an anonymous skeleton in the desert. You tell yourself the oldest lie in the criminal handbook, just this once. In theory, the gig is simple. You're a mule. The operations manager takes you to the mouth of a hidden cave. The hole is so tight that only a malnourished 14-year-old could squeeze through. For the first time in your life, hunger actually gives you a competitive advantage in the labor market. They strap a backpack to you. Your mission: crawl through the pitch black, following a trail of marked rocks. You pop out on the other side of the border. There's a surveillance tower looming in the distance. You creep through the brush, paralyzed with fear. Every twig that snaps sounds like a 12-gauge blast in your ear. You trek 3 miles until you find a specific dead tree. That's the drop-off point. You dump the package and vanish. No one sees you. No one greets you. You're a logistics ghost. The gig turns out to be suspiciously easy. For 7 days, you're dodging border patrol like a pro, thanks to your size and street smarts. You stack the cash. You clear the debt. The Shylocks bounce and your sister is safe. You're feeling like the protagonist of a gritty action flick. Full of pride and relief, you head over to the middleman to put in your 2 weeks' notice. You tell him it was a pleasure doing business, but you're going back to the straight and narrow. You honestly think this is just a summer job, or like driving for DoorDash, where you can just hit end shift and log off whenever you feel like it. But the recruiter gives you this fatherly smile that absolutely chills your bones. He pulls out a phone and shows you a pic from this morning, your sister walking into school, smiling totally clueless. He calmly explains the organization's HR policy. See, in this industry, there's no such thing as voluntary resignation. So, you've got talent, kid, and wasting talent is a fireable offense. Literally. You know too much now. The roots, the faces, the system. You're not a temp anymore. You're a fixed asset on the company's balance sheet. The new job offer is simple and non-negotiable. Keep working for them indefinitely, or your sister has a tragic accident on her way home. That's when the reality check hits harder than a freight train. You realize your success didn't buy your freedom. If anything, you just proved you're too profitable to be free. You paid off the debt, but you just signed a lifetime contract with your own blood. Turns out there's no unsubscribe button in hell. 3 months later, the cave route collapses both metaphorically and literally. The feds busted during some other kid's shift. He ends up in juvie. You survive by pure statistical luck. Management notices you've got something the other crash test dummies lack: a brain. They decide you're too valuable to spend your life crawling through the dirt like a beetle. You get promoted. You get a burner phone, a strategic vantage point, and a shiny new corporate title. You're now a Falcon. Your job is to be the cartel's eyes and ears. For your average street kid, this is boring work. But you're not average. You apply the same focus that earned you straight A's in school. You map out federal patrol patterns. You spot unmarked cars by the specific wear on their tires, and you build alert codes that no one else can crack. Your efficiency skyrockets by 200%. The local plaza boss calls you in personally. He hands you a fat cash bonus and says 3 magic words: "Good job, son." Those words hit you harder than any street drug ever could. Since your mom passed, no one has told you you're worth a damn. No one has looked at you with respect. Suddenly, the blood money is buying your sister clean sneakers and putting hot meals on the table. You start to rationalize the hustle. You tell yourself you're a provider, a protector, a legit businessman. The fear evaporates, replaced by something way more toxic: pride. You're starting to love the game. It all goes down on a stormy night. The rival crew decides to launch a hostile takeover of your turf using high-caliber lead instead of high-priced lawyers. You and your sister get caught in the crossfire on your way home. You try to shield her with your body, but the laws of physics are cold, and bullets don't have a moral compass. A stray round fired by some idiot who wasn't even aiming rips right through your sister's chest. Time hits the brakes. The sound of the rain blurs with screams and sirens. You're frozen, kneeling in the blood-soaked mud, staring into her empty eyes. Your brain just unplugs. You're waiting for the mercy shot. You want to die. But death rejects you. A crewmate drags you by the collar out of the line of fire just seconds before a grenade turns your spot into a smoking crater. You survive, but the kid who wanted to be a politician died on that sidewalk. You spend 3 days staring at a wall in total silence. When you finally stand up, you aren't an employee looking for approval anymore. The sadness has evaporated, replaced by a solid block of ice. You swear on her grave that you won't seek justice, because justice is a luxury for the 1%. You're looking for vengeance, and you won't stop until you've wiped their entire bloodline off the face of the earth. You decide that if you're gonna be a monster, you might as well be the smartest one in the room. You study the art of war with the same grind you used for your high school midterms. Your rise is meteoric. In 2 years, you're a regional manager. By 30, you're the youngest deputy director in the history of the organization. In the legal corporate world, you'd need an MBA and 20 years of bootlicking to get that corner office. Here, job openings happen every time someone catches a bullet to the face. It's a brutally efficient meritocracy. When the old boss drops dead from a heart attack, all hell breaks loose. The other lieutenants choose brainless violence. You choose politics. You understand a fundamental truth. Bullets kill people, but politics kills entire organizations. Instead of buying more hardware, you buy a presidential candidate. You find a politician with sky-high ambition and zero morals, and you make him an investment offer. You bankroll his campaign with unlimited dark money, and in return, he hands you the keys to the kingdom the second he wins. It's the perfect symbiosis between organized crime and legalized crime. With power on your side, you kick off your own PR campaign. You use blood money to build schools, hospitals, and pave the streets of your old neighborhood. People start calling you a savior. You open a clinic named after your late mother. You tell yourself you're finally living the dream of helping the poor. But deep down, a voice whispers the truth. You aren't helping anyone. You're just buying cheap loyalty and laundering your conscience with bricks and mortar. You've finally become the politician you dreamed of being as a kid, except your mandate is built on bodies instead of ballots. With political power in one hand and military muscle in the other, wiping out the competition stops being a war and turns into a simple administrative task. You ascend to the throne. You're the CEO of crime, now the big boss, and your first executive order. It's personal. The crew that murdered your sister doesn't get a day in court. Some accidentally catch a bullet during routine police stops. Others just evaporate inside max security prisons. It's cold, calculated revenge, ironically funded by the very taxpayers you're now protecting. You keep your end of the business deal. Your political puppet wins the election. Now you've got the actual president of the nation on your payroll. He's your most expensive employee, but damn, he's efficient. With total immunity, you start playing God. You use the dirty cash to build state-of-the-art schools, parks, and hospitals in your old stomping grounds. The public worships you. They call you the benefactor. Wait! Technically, you're living your childhood dream of helping the poor. But every night staring at your empire from a bulletproof balcony, one doubt eats you alive. Are you building these hospitals out of the kindness of your heart, or are you just erecting massive monuments to drown out the guilt of becoming the exact same monster who killed your father? You're a saint standing on a mountain of bones. Right when you think you've officially won the game, you get the world's most brutal pink slip. A massive military task force surrounds your estate. Your partner. The president decided you're a loose end that needs to be snipped to polish his international image. He sold you out. But he made a rookie mistake. He forgot that in the criminal underworld, loyalty is a myth, but blackmail is a guarantee. You were always 2 steps ahead. For years you kept the receipts recording, every meeting, every bribe, and every dirty handshake. You don't go out with empty hands. Before you ghost, you trigger your insurance policy. You leak terabytes of documents, videos, and audio clips to the international press, proving the government is in reality just a wholly owned subsidiary of your cartel. The scandal goes nuclear. The president goes from the palace to a federal cell in under 24 hours. But for you, seeing him behind bars isn't enough. Treason is paid for in blood. You send one final order to your last loyalists inside the system. The ex-president has a tragic accident in the prison showers. With the country burning in the political chaos you created and your enemies in the ground, you feel like a goddamn genius. You head for the coast with $100 million in cash and a fake passport ready to take your golden parachute and disappear into retirement. You honestly believe you're the architect of your own destiny. You pull up to the pier in the pouring rain, waiting for the boat that was supposed to be your ticket to a fresh start in Europe. But instead of a captain, you're greeted by a tactical squad. It wasn't the surveillance drones or the satellites that tracked you down. It was an inside leak. Out of the shadows steps your right-hand man, the protege you raised like your own son. He looks at you with zero remorse. He's already cut a deal with the new administration. You're just the peace offering now, the toxic asset that needs to be liquidated for the new regime to take over. In the boardroom, they call it restructuring. In the streets, it's just a knife in the back. The trial is a televised media circus, but the verdict was signed, sealed, and delivered before you even walked into the room. Capital punishment. As you're strapped to the gurney and that cold needle pricks your skin, time starts to fracture. Your life hits the rewind button. You see the skyscrapers you built crumble into dust. You see your enemies rise from the grave. You see the blood flow back into your sister's veins. Suddenly you're 14 again. You're standing in front of that loan shark flyer, heartbroken and flat out broke. You wonder what would have happened if you'd taken a different path. You wonder at what exact moment the kid who wanted to save his neighborhood turned into the monster that burned it down. And as the darkness swallows you whole, the final irony hits home. This entire empire, all this death, all this agony, it was just the accrued interest on a 5,000 peso debt. That wraps it up for today. Now, the story you just heard is a work of fiction, but I'm willing to bet that somewhere out there, someone is living through this exact nightmare right this second. I hope you got some serious food for thought out of this story. If you did, drop a comment below and let me know what your biggest takeaway was. I've got more deep dives like this coming your way, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. See you in the next one.